This video is supported by Profit Accumulator. Profit Accumulator helps you to earn extra money by doing something called match betting. Match betting isn't gambling. And when you do it properly, and I mean properly, you can't lose. So get involved right now. Click the link in the description and sign up to Profit Accumulator right now.
Hi guys, welcome back to AFTV. Lots of content coming out for you today, especially because Arteta's dropped another press conference on us. Obviously, just the way the schedule is and the way we're playing, there's no sort of, let's say, no consistent schedule to these, really. So there we go. He's been speaking to the press, obviously, after yesterday's draw. I wouldn't say it felt like a defeat, that draw. I'll just give a couple of thoughts on it now. I mean, it didn't feel like a defeat. I didn't come out of it sort of completely gutted and totally disappointed with the players, but I definitely, felt like it was a massive opportunity missed. We had a couple home games. We knew that we'd hit a favourable run. We haven't beaten Southampton at home. We haven't beaten Burnley at home. Yeah, fair enough. We beat Chelsea, but we've not gone and beaten Palace. So obviously, incredibly disappointing. But he has been talking to the press. There's lots to talk about here. Not so much in terms of quotes, but actually just sort of big news. Obviously, Richard Garlick, if you don't know about him, I'll try and give a little bit of insight. I'm no expert myself, but I'll read you some Arteta quotes. Richard Garlick is going to be the new director of football operations. He's joining soon. Not sure exactly when, but it's sort of imminent, although they don't think he'll be in place for the rest of the January window. Pablo Mari injury update, Kieran Tierney update from David Ornstein we'll go into, and will Thomas Partey start against Newcastle Monday night? Should he start? I think he should, but we'll go into all that. Let's take a couple comments. What have we got? We've got some people saying Arteta in, some people saying hello everyone. Yeah, just people here for a chat. Some people saying play Balogun. Yeah, I mean, PS Midi saying play Balogun. Cecil was calling the Balogun to get some game time actually, and to be on the bench recently. I'm not as convinced. I mean, maybe at least on the bench, but in terms of game time in the league, I'm not as sure. But anyway, we're not here to talk about all that today. But we do get your sort of questions in. Anything you want to ask me, anything you want to chat about from the press conference. Not there wasn't too much said, to be honest. As I said, it was just sort of it was quality over quantity. Let's say not a lot said, but what was said was pretty big news. So let's go into it. Here were the quotes on Richard Garlick, asked about his appointment as the director of football operations at Arsenal. He says, "We lost Huss Fahmy at the start of the season. He had a really important role because it's very important. He's a very important link between myself, Edu, the technical director, and the board, Vinay. We needed a person with a lot of experience who knows the job really well, has all the connections in English and international football, as well as someone that can bring some ideas and some qualities that we believe are required to run the business the way we want. I'm really excited. I met him. He is certainly the candidate we wanted, and now we have to respect the process. He is at the Premier League at the moment, and we will see when we can get him," which I thought was very interesting. That he's got a bit of history. He's been at West Brom. He's been at the Premier League for the last two and a half years. I think he's been at West Brom for 8 years. I'm pretty sure he had a very similar role to what he'll be doing at the club now. Let me just read you some other quotes on him from Arteta before we chat about him a little bit more, and I'll try and answer any questions I can, really. I mean, I've got to say, I'm no expert on this sort of situation, but we'll chat about it anyway. Asked about whether Garlick's appointment will take some pressure off Mikel Arteta himself, he says, "It's not about the pressure, it's contribution. It's to bring people into our team that are better than us in certain things. That's going to make us better. We had to replace Huss, and Huss had a really important role, not only with the first team, but with the academy, and a lot of administration work he's been doing with other entities across Europe. We needed to replace him. There was no question about that. We were looking for months, and we all decided that the best person to do that was Richard." So I'm just going to leave this picture of Richard up for a second. As I said, he was at the Premier League for 2.5 years. I think he spent 8 years, or he's still there, to be honest. He spent 8 years at West Brom. This is interesting because I think back in the Wenger days, a lot of people were calling for a director of football, someone to manage operations and alleviate some of the pressure off the manager, which is interesting as to why Arteta was asked that question in the first place. You'd think that some pressures are going to be taken off him, that, more people means more manpower. And as he said, there's expertise that Richard Garlick has that, perhaps Edu, Vinay and Arteta between them don't. Now, Huss Fahmy, no expert on the work he did, but I think he was divisive in how successful and good he was at Arsenal. But he very much dealt with contract negotiations and a lot of, I don't want to say admin stuff. I mean, that might sort of detract from sort of what an important role it was. But obviously with him leaving, that was more work on on the people, Arteta, Edu, and all them. Who had to sort of pick up the pieces, and it looks like they're bringing someone in to have a director of football role, which is very, very interesting. Is this good for the club? I think so. I think so. I mean, I don't think an extra voice is going to be that bad a thing, really. He seems experienced enough. He seems to, Arteta seems to be speaking glowingly about him. Of course, you'd expect that, but worth saying anyway. Of course, it's quite funny the direction the club's gone in recently, because when Wenger left, we were starting to put into place the Gazidis project, weren't we? Which was the Sven Mislintat, Raul Sanllehi, Gazidis sort of at the top, and then a head coach, which was Unai Emery at the time. And that's all fallen apart. Gazidis left for Dortmund, AC Milan. Sven Mislintat wasn't happy with the way the club was being run. Raul Sanllehi as well left for rumoured reasons, let's be honest. And Sanllehi, I think, whether he did right or wrong at the club, people kind of liked him. He was quite fun. You saw him in videos like the Saliba announcement video where he's sort of dancing in the background. There was a structure in place, and that's all sort of crumbled in the last couple of years. I mean, I barely think it lasts 6 months. It wasn't great, considering this was the new era of Arsenal, the modern era. And now it's been replaced with Vinay having a more important role. I think he's CEO of the club. Edu, obviously, technical operations with Arteta as the manager. He was head coach. Now he's manager, which means he's got more responsibilities than he did just before he won the FA Cups. I think that happened in the summer. And now Richard Garlick coming in. I mean, I know I've not said that brilliantly. I hope it gives you some idea as to what we were and what we've become now. I can't judge this thing. I can't. I'm not familiar with Garlick's work, but hey ho. It's clearly something the club felt needed to be done, and I'm glad it has been done. I'm gonna try and take some questions around this, maybe maybe something to do with anything else. I'll have a little look. If there's anything I've not answered, let me know. Gazidis is doing well at AC Milan. Well, AC Milan are doing well. Whether Gazidis is doing well, I'm not so sure. I know a lot of people were saying that AC Milan fans were really unhappy with the work that Gazidis was doing. That was just a few fans' opinions. Obviously, it doesn't reflect everyone's, but interesting to see that. But AC Milan are doing well, and they seem to be identifying the right profile of player, building a decent team, building a decent squad. So, yeah, fair play to him. We've got people talking about boxing. Do you know what channel this is? But okay, fair enough. Any more questions on this? Probably not. It's probably quite boring, I know, but worth talking about it as Arteta did. People saying Deontay Wilder's costume design. That's a good name. No Ambition FC. I mean, hopefully this is a step towards having more ambition. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, you can only hope, eh? What else have we got? It's Joel asking, do I think it's a good signing? Yeah, as I mentioned, a couple of minutes ago, I can't really judge this. I don't really know. I think probably yes, but only time will tell. We'll see. Anyway, guys, sorry if you found that all really boring. It came up in the press conference. It's worth talking about. But also, I think when we're judging the club, it's so easier to blame the players or blame the manager, all those people. There's more that goes beyond that, and then there's the Cronkies. People sort of jump players, manager, Cronkies, but there's a lot that goes in the middle. Vinay, Edu, and then you're talking about your Richard Garlicks now, as Husfarmy before, people who had a really important role in the running of this football club, in helping Arteta get the players he wants, to build a better team, in helping Edu, get these players to the club, make the deals get over the line. So anyway, I think it's important. Worth speaking about. Let's have a look at what was next. Pablo Mari. Now, there is a Tierney injury update. I'll talk about that later. I'll leave that to the end of the show because it wasn't something Arteta spoke about, and I want to focus on the press conference first. But let's talk about Pablo Mari. Here's what was said. Mikel Arteta said he had a calf injury in training. This is on Wednesday. He says, I think he'll miss a few matches. He's another one we will lose, but we've got Gabriel Magalhaes, back after COVID, which is good news. We've got Thomas back as well, Thomas Partey. Let's focus on the positives, and rightly so. There was Lee Judges was joking in the studio yesterday, saying joking, but maybe there's an air of seriousness to it. He was saying that we basically we had to pay, I think, 900,000 quid or something, or a million to Flamengo, the team we signed Pablo Mari from, if he made one more appearance. And for every appearance, I think after this point, we pay up to something like 8 million quid. It's part of the, what's it called? The clauses in the transfer, in the transfer dealings we do and all that. So there was a joke that, Arsenal are too cheap and won't, Mari will never play again. He'll be left out for footballing reasons. I know all this. He's going to miss a few games. It's a calf injury. It's a real shame. I think Mari looked really, really good. Don't know what you guys are saying in the comments about Pablo Mari. Did you think he was impressing? I think he was doing really, really well. Arsenal Season says Pablo Mari's injury situation is quite mind-puzzling. Can you give us a word on that? Yeah, here I am. It's a weird one for sure. It's a weird one. Where I'm always a little bit skeptical about these training injuries, but yeah, I think especially when you're hearing about the money it would cost, if he played another game. But I mean, to be honest, guys, I'm just messing here. I don't think there's any way the club are not playing him because they know they got to pay money or something if he makes another appearance. I'd genuinely be amazed if that was the situation. But it does definitely get you thinking. So yeah, real shame, because I think Mari's been doing really, really well. Any of you disappointed in the Mari thing? It's Joel again, says Pablo Mari's really underrated. Here we go. I feel really sorry for him. I do. I think he was starting to get his place in the team, and I think a lot of people when Gabriel Magalhaes came back, people were saying, Gabriel doesn't get his place back immediately because Mari's been doing so well. If anything, he might have to adapt to playing as the right centre back. But I think it feels like it's a matter of time now before Gabriel gets his place back in the team, and Mari's going to have to work really hard and deal with cup appearances or something to sort of prove himself. So. Yeah, frustrating for him. I do feel sorry for him, especially after the injuries he had. He took a while coming into the team when we signed him in January. Did he have an injury when he arrived? No, that was Cedric. And then he also took a bit of time. When was it? The injury against City. That was it. He was out for months. I mean, 4 or 5 months maybe. So yeah, real shame there. Warner169 saying Mari's better than Luis. Maybe on current form, but I think Luis looks good at the moment. So, yeah, very frustrating for him. Let's go into the rest of the press conference stuff. Thomas Partey. So, asked on whether Thomas Partey is ready to start. Obviously, he's made that appearance now against Palace. And that's what I wanted. Anyone who follows our build-up show, or when Robbie, Cecil and I put our 11s out on social media, we don't... Cecil and Robbie wanted Partey to start, and I get why, because he's our best player. But I was wary. I want him to get half an hour first. He's had that half hour, and I think he's ready to start against Newcastle. Here's what Arteta said. He said, "Well, he's made the right. He's made the right step. Obviously, he hasn't played much football in the last 4 months. He had an injury in exactly the same place he had when he got injured against Spurs. Now we have the reassurance that he can compete. He did it for 25, 30 minutes. He did it well. He didn't feel anything. So now we're going to be looking for the next step, and that's just great news. I mean, guys, let me know in the comments. Does Thomas Partey walk back in? And I know he's our best player, and I think that too, but it is also worth saying that Sabas and Xhaka have looked good recently. They've played quite well. Sabas, I thought, had a really good first half yesterday, but on the whole, played very well against West Brom. I think Xhaka has been in a good vein of form. I was undecided about how well he played yesterday. I think he did okay. I think he did very well defensively. I wasn't sure whether he was playing at the levels that a lot of people were saying. But that's just my opinion. A lot of people thought he was superb yesterday, and fair enough. And he definitely had some great moments. Is he the one you dropped to bring Partey in? I think a part of that is down to, what do you see Partey as? Do you see him as the box-to-box? Do you see him as the defensive midfielder? What role does Partey have in this team for you? I think that will help you answer who you sort of drop. Well, I say that, but then also, Jack has been he's had more fun when he's been getting forward, being the one who's supplying Tierney and players like that now, and then he's been sitting. Can you rely on Sabas to be the CDM? So lots of questions, but these are all good problems for Arteta to have. Zuka T says, Partey walks into any midfielder in the world. Yeah, I think so too. It's about figuring out the right balance for the midfield and who he should come in for. I think that's the big question. Ahmed says James is a huge Ceballos fan. I am. Do you know what? I'm a really big Ceballos fan, and I said it sort of a little bit more muted in my kind of early months at AFTV because I think as he's been inconsistent, you don't know what Ceballos you're going to get. But to be honest, I am. I think he's a really, really good player, and I think around better players, he looks even better. I don't ever think when we're doing badly that he's the problem necessarily. I think he was getting the ball into really good areas in the final third yesterday, and when there was space to drive, he did. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I would personally play Partey and Ceballos together, but that's just me. John O'Brien says, how is Partey our best player? He's only played 3 games, man. Wake up. Because he was a Champions League top world-class midfielder. That was the level he was at, Champions League for Atletico Madrid. And that you can't ignore that. You can't say that, oh, well, you can't compare what he was like before or Farmers League. You can't say any of that stuff. He was playing and performing in the Champions League. He won a Europa League. He was at the top echelon of European football before he came to us. He was absolutely superb. So that's how I can say it. And also in the handful of appearances, he's looked our best player. So that's my opinion. I think he is our best player. Jesse saying Partey and Ceballos could work for us. I think so too. I don't see why not, really. Cheyenne Patel saying thoughts on Richard Garlick. Do go to the first sort of 8 minutes of this show. I talk a lot about that. I read the Arteta quotes and just a little bit of opinion from my side. Yeah, not really much more to say about that. I'm no expert on it, so don't expect some big old 5-page document on him. I don't know too much, but yeah, some stuff there. So what have we got? It's Joel again saying Partey plus Xhaka. Partey says the back and Xhaka gets forward. I wouldn't mind that. But a lot of people like Partey's sort of box-to-box nature. Ahmed asking, how long is Kieran Tierney injured for? We will get to that very shortly, but it's all good news, so do stay tuned. People saying Willian is better than Aubameyang. Interesting. Wonderman Land says Ceballos is bang average dross. Fair enough. It's your opinion. I personally think he's very good. Mo Chab says Partey needs Aouar. Yeah, I mean, he would thrive with an Aouar next to him. Someone who can sort of create from deep. But I don't mean Aouar as a number 10. I mean someone who can sit back and sort of dictate play, a bit like Fabregas used to do. And Partey can be that box-to-box. I mean, that wouldn't be bad. Good question here from Virus Legend X. Why can't we play 3 midfielders? Yeah, why not? I mean, I think there is a third midfielder, and that's Smith Rowe. It's just a case of whether you're happy with Smith Rowe as a 10. I think we're all sort of accepting that he can do that. Adrian De Silva saying, should we try Pepe as a number 10? Personally, not for me, but I've seen some shouts for that. Cecil really wanted to see that at one point. People keep asking, how long is Tierney out for? I'm worried. How long? All right, do you know what? Let's do the Tierney news now because people keep asking about it. And it's not right to keep you lot waiting. So here was the the update from David Ornstein. Have a little look at this. He says, Kieran Tierney injury thought not to be serious. Seems there's no tear to the calf muscle and could return for the visit of Newcastle on Monday. There was concern when the 23-year-old missed last night's draw versus Crystal Palace, but it was a precaution and looking good. So that's really good news. Could return for the visit of Newcastle. It's exactly what we wanted to hear. I think they're right to be cautious because Tierney's so important. But I think if you learn one thing from this, that we need to cover a left back. I wasn't as happy as other fans when Kolasinac left. For me, I know he's got faults and deficiencies in his game. I completely appreciate that. But he could play at a Premier League level, and he was the profile of player to step in and be a proper left back who marauds down that left hand side. Nowhere near as well as Tierney, granted, but he can do that. So I think we need someone. Do we want Saka to be filling in at left back? He's been doing so well on the right wing. I don't think we want to take him away from that. And Maitland-Niles, he's a good player. Maitland-Niles can step in and do that job. When he emerged in the team, he was playing left back under Arsene Wenger. And he did very well in that position. But he's not a creator. And Aubameyang's not either. So watch my review show. I did with Cecil, the stats review show. I basically went into detail about why that left-hand side was wrong, but I think we need someone in there. Great news though that Kieran Tierney's doing okay. Let's take some questions. Chris George saying Wayne Rooney has retired. Yes, he's the new manager of Derby County, which is big news. What else have we got here? Just take some questions. What have we got? Charlie asked, do I think Aubameyang will return to previous form? I really hope so. You know, an in-form Aubameyang is a world-class striker who's up there with some of the very best in terms of his goal rate. His numbers were superb. His numbers when he first came to the club were, and that sort of first 2 years were unbelievable. He's struggling a little bit now, but that's okay. I don't think we need to worry. I think the reason I say that is because he was so consistently at that level for so long. I think he's allowed a dip, and we shouldn't really be getting on him for it. But then we should call out when he's struggling. What have we got? Vision Consult says, in my opinion, I think Partey is not what we need. We need a warrior and creative beast to be opening stubborn teams. We have not won any game with Partey, but we won with El Neni. Fact. Well, that's not true because Partey started in the game against Man United. And also, no one's disputing that we need creativity from midfield, but I think Partey is also an upgrade on the defensive side of the game. And he does have some drive about him. He's got a good pass on him. Partey can do things in the final third. There's no question. I think he scored more goals from distance than any of our midfielders in the last year. So, yeah, I personally disagree. I think Partey's superb. Virus Legend again saying Partey is extremely inconsistent. Anything on Tierney, guys? No, people just talk about El Neni apparently. Ray asked, do I think Xhaka is a problem? For me, he's a very average player. I don't think he's the problem. I mean, I think that'd be harsh, but I still am of the belief that he's not, and not just him, by the way. I'm going to put a lot of players into the category that I still think there are a lot of players at the club who are good footballers, but they're not good enough to get us to the top four where we want to be personally. And I've still not really changed my mind about Xhaka in that sense. I don't like saying it. He's performed well recently, but I'm looking at the last 4 or 5 years, and that's sort of what I think. Marcus Comfort, a Tierney question, or a Tierney sentence more so. Should Tierney take over as captain, maybe relieve pressure on Oba? No, it was a question. Thank you. I think the pressure would be off Aubameyang if he wasn't captain. I do think that. I do think he would benefit from not being the captain, not having that pressure. I think he's even spoken about the pressure he feels of being the captain sometimes. Do I think I'll just take it off him now? I'm not sure. I think that's almost a little humiliating. I'm not really sure. But Tierney is captain material. I'd love to see Tierney as the captain. So it's a tricky one. Would I do it? No. Unless things got really bad and Aubameyang actually got to a point where he wasn't playing week in, week out, then yeah, I probably would do it. I'd say, look, we need our club captain to be on the pitch every week, and that is Kieran Tierney. So yeah, good question though. Very good question. I'm not sure I'd take it off him though. James, how long is Tierney injured for? We've just told you guys. He should be back for Monday. That's what they're hoping. So that is definitely good news. What else have we got? Thapan saying Oba is a poor leader. I'm not sure about that. I think he's really loved by the players. I think he's a good role model to the younger players. I think he's very involved in the club. I think he's a friendly face. He engages with the fans. He's got a smile on his face. And obviously when he's not playing well, he doesn't cut that same figure. But I'm sort of willing to be patient with him on that front. You know, he's struggling and that's okay. But I'm sure he'll pick himself up and he'll get going again. Let's take one more Tierney question, or actually a left back related question. Rafet Celebi says, James, thoughts on who we could buy, loan for left back? Also, I'm with you on the Lolo in top 5 of the decade shout. Oh, Koscielny. Thank you. I thought it was just me. Look, I mean, to be honest, when we looked into it more and we listed who our top 5 players the last decade were, actually Koscielny probably didn't make it just because there were 5 better. But I mean, I thought he was worth big in the discussion. He's a top player. But to answer your question, who could we buy loan at left back? I mean, that's the thing. And you got to put, I've said this in previous videos with Robbie and Cecil on Transfer Daily Extra, is that you've got to put a cronky tax on these situations. So who's available to go get a left back? Well, probably quite a few good left backs. Look at Man United going to get Telles. And he plays as a backup for sure. And that is why they're in the title race, because they've got depth. If Pogba or Fernandes aren't available, Mata can play. Van der Beek can play. If Fred's not doing it, McTominay can come in, or Matic. They've got serious depth in that front three. Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, but then you got Cavani, and you got Dan James. Okay, he's not as good, but can do a job. And that's, I think, the biggest problem we've got. And Cecil's talking about depth as well. We don't really have that. So if our owners are serious, they go and get a proper left back to cover. I'm just not convinced they are. And they'll give Arteta some money and they'll spend and get in a few signings and slowly improve the team. But I think if we're really serious, you go and get these players now. You can't do it all in January, fine. You might do some in the summer, but I think you've got to be more proactive than this personally. So off the top of my head, sorry, I've knocked the mic again. I keep doing that on my streams. Again, I've not really answered the question. I'm not really sure. I'll have to go look into it. But there are definitely players out there. There's always someone who can do a job, who can come in at left back. Otherwise, I'm not sure we should have lost Kolasinac. Because if Maitland-Niles really... I know he's a better player than Kolasinac, and defensively he'll do a better job, but can you trust him to do that overlap role? He's not comfortable on his left foot like that. Do you want to put Saka there? I'm not sure. Lots to think about. There was one more quote. I may as well go into it just really, really quickly about clean sheets. Asked about how positive he's feeling about the clean sheets. He says it's very positive because it's a foundation to win any game. He says we lack that quality in the final third against Palace. That's needed against teams like them. He says Roy's a manager who gets his team really organised. That's Roy Hodgson. They have been so successful against big teams over the years because they're a real threat as well in transition and on set pieces, and we lack that against them. Yeah, I completely agree. I think he summed that up well. And that's pretty much it. I think I'll take two more comments. It's been good to discuss, what does Richard Garlick's appointment mean for this club? Kieran Tierney, looking like he's going to be back. That's great. Nothing long term. But it begs the question, what have we got at left back? People are saying, let's get PSG's left back, but not Kazawa. I'm not quite sure who you mean then. People saying Tarek Lamptey. Again, he's not a left back though. You'd have the same problem you got with Maitland-Niles. He might do well in that position, but is he going to look totally comfortable? Chowder 04. Top 3 Arsenal players so far this season. Bukayo Saka, Gabriel, and Bernd Leno for me. Those 3 have been the best. Shout outs to Tierney. Saka, Gabriel, Tierney. I was just waxing lyrical about Tierney and I forgot about him. So just confirm, not in order, but Saka, Gabriel, and Tierney have been our 3 best players. Leno's been very good. Shout out to him. I think David Luiz, when he has played, he's had a lot of injuries. When he's played, has looked very good. Partey in his limited appearances class. Xhaka, apart from a few bad games, has had a pretty good season. I think Lacazette's show form, but I don't think he's in the discussion for top 3. Very good question. Let's take one more. People saying Bernat is the other left back at PSG. Not a bad shout. Can you get him on loan? Sam Prosser. Let's end with this. Is the transfer priority a midfielder or a goalkeeper? Realistically, if we're without Leno, we're in bigger trouble if we have to fall back on Runnison than we would be if we were without another midfielder. It's a really good question. It's a really good point as well you make. I'll answer it quickly. What I would say is I think the priority is a creative midfielder because we need to start improving that first 11. We need to help Smith Rowe out. And I think if you bring in Runnison, I still would like to think that we've got enough to at least dominate the game and still win it. Maybe. And also let's not write off Runnison too much. I mean, I know he's had a few poor performances or a few poor moments, but Fabianski also had those poor moments. I mean, he had some real howlers at first at Arsenal. And then when you got a bit of a run of games, whatever it came, he actually did okay. Ended up being a bit of a cup hero for us. So I would prioritise the midfielder, the attacking midfielder. But again, for a serious club and we've got serious owners, you go get a real backup goalkeeper. You go get a left back cover. And I'm being realistic here, brother. I'm not saying January spend 200 million. I'm saying a realistic January window for a serious club, backup goalkeeper. You go get a left back, you go get a creative midfielder, and that's it. I think that's reasonable enough. Then you go into the summer and you assess the striker situation. Is Balogun off? Is Lacazette signing a new contract? Is Aubameyang on form? Probably all those things won't turn out the way we want. So you go and get a proper striker. Bellerin, he's done okay, but is he the right back we want long term? I'd say probably not. So you go and spend money on a proper right back. Is Saliba ready? If you think he's not, go get a proper centre back to partner Gabriel. It's all these little things. Go get that deep creator, someone who can dictate the play alongside Partey. This is the thing I think our sort of the people upstairs don't really acknowledge. It's all well and good signing the odd Partey and the odd Gabriel, but there are so many flaws in this team that need to be addressed. And I think yesterday the team actually played okay. They didn't create many chances, but they kept the ball. They tried to show initiative, whatever, but we were lacking imagination and any cutting edge. We got to the final third, we got to the box, and we did nothing with it. So hope that answers your question, Sam. I said that was the last one, but I rambled on. So let's just take one more. People saying they love Arsenal. People saying they want to see our People, asking again, what's more important, creative midfielder, a backup goalkeeper, Allegri or Benitez? I'm not going to discuss that because it doesn't look like Arteta going to lose his job. Let's end on this. Jared says we need a left back, 2 centre mids, a number 10, and a backup goalkeeper. Yep, agree with that. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Always enjoying these. I'm here at my desk, then out of nowhere, just bam, Arteta press conference comes out. So, yes, I need to find a way of finding out when these are going to be. But look, always good fun. Always good to chat to you all. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for engaging. Go do your research on Richard Garlick. I'll definitely do the same as well. Find out what's he about. What is it that Arsenal are getting right now in this new director of football? Good news on Tierney. Shame about Mari, but doesn't look too serious. It looks like Gabriel's back, and hopefully Mari won't be out too long. And yes, is Partey going to start against Newcastle? I think he is. So it's been great. Thanks, guys. See you at the next one.